Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, as a short dream, it has two halves though, and I have to admit it. I had to sleep on it to understand or to pull anything out of it. It wasn't immediately clear to me, but just goes to show a good night's sleep is always good. It's good for creativity. Gets your brain, your unconscious and conscious mind working together. Um, but it features druggies or a druggie um, and a couple and a dad and some dominoes. So let's find out what's going on. But before I do go on, I just want to say that actually sometimes we do have to sit with a dream because it's not immediately decipherable, or it may actually mean you're not meant to know what it means just yet. I've had dreams like that, and they were usually about something going to happen in future times. The thing is that you don't know until it happens that that's what the dream was about. There you go. Anyway, the dream starts. The first part of it starts where the dreamer was with his wife, and they were visiting somebody, a crackhead. I mean, that's what he says. He was visiting this crackhead in his apartment. They sat with them for a time without much going on. I mean, they were just kind of sitting there looking at each other politely, I suppose. But eventually, the guy, the crackhead, I just hate using that term. He's a person, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Eventually, he gets up to make some tea for everyone, and also to show them a white domino set that he had bought. So that's the end of the first part of the dream. The next part of the dream, the dreamer reports that he he and his wife, because it says we, I'm assuming that it's still the wife, got a call from the dreamer's father, who said that his aunt, or I assume that that's the dad's sister, was upset because of the way the dreamer's wife had cut back some willow trees. And the dreamer tells the dad, that's just nonsense. That's just silly because his wife had done what was necessary. And there the dream ends. So, like I said, I had to think about this because it wasn't immediately apparent what was going on, but I think I got there in the end, but I'll find out from the dreamer afterwards. Um, Now, the first thing was this character, the crackhead, for lack of a better back of a better term. He has no identity other than his addiction, or if you want to look at it in a slightly different way, his role. He plays a role. He plays the role of crackhead. Who is he? Who is the person behind the addiction? And that's kind of my question, out there for the dreamer. But what does the term or the person of crackhead evoke for the dreamer? What does that mean for the dreamer? The characters in our dreams don't appear randomly. So what does that represent for the dreamer? And my next question here is, why was the wife with this dreamer? Was it a relative? Was this work related? And if it was work related, why was the wife there? It just seems a bit odd for some to if it was a work situation, and even odd if you think about the circumstances. People on crack can be very unpredictable, so you possibly putting yourself in danger. Um, Now, you, we'll look at the wife again because the wife could be, again, a role, not a person, not a name, but the wife. So it's a role. Now, in that, if that's the case, then the role, sorry, I keep banging my knee. The wife can perhaps represents the anima or inner female of the dreamer. And the anima or inner female in males and the animus, the inner male in females. Um, so we each have both halves, either one externalized and one internalized, and sometimes that gets switched. But the anima or internal female for the male represents connection, represents relationship, represents feelings. And I wonder if the wife here is functioning in a supportive role, if you will, of the dreamer, in that it's stressing connection and relatedness. I mean, having the cup of tea, that's a social as well as a meal or a ritual. It is ritualistic in a sense here in the UK. I mean, they're big tea drinkers, so having a cup of tea with someone is how people connect with one another. So there's something here, perhaps, that about the dreamer connecting with feelings or connecting with other people, and maybe it's something that the dreamer needs to look at. How are they connecting, if they are connecting, and if the connections are good ones. It could also be, if this was a work situation where you would be dealing with people who may be in unfortunate circumstances, that it could be a call, maybe just to work with the heart, work from the heart. So that's something perhaps for the dreamer to think about as well. Um, well, I had a question, almost a throwaway question. And what does having a cup of tea represent for the dreamer? There, like I said, it's almost a ritualistic, not ritualistic, but a ritual, a social ritual or habit that people have here, that must has a values or feelings attached to it. So I would ask the dreamer, what does having someone give them a cup of tea represent? Then you have these dominoes. I assume that if there were a normal set of dominoes, they're white dominoes with black spots. Um, Now, something what popped into my mind with this was, that the purity of the white ivory or plastic or whatever it is, with black spots on it, some with more spots, some with less spots, in a domino set, of course. um and I wonder if that could perhaps be a metaphor of some kind of, purity, having a sense of purity, but having, little black spots, little stains that somehow people have more, some people have less, but we all have stains on us, if you will. And it pro- evoked the question in me: is there any dark spots on the not literally on the dreamer, but dark spots that the dreamer feels exist or could exist within himself, these little dark spots that need to be cleaned, because it was, what he said was a white domino set, so that what was the prevailing color is white, um, but you have these dark spots on them. So is it there anything that in the dreamer's life that resembles perhaps those little dark spots? The other thing was that came to me was the domino effect. You knock one down and they all go. And they have competitions where they do these spectacular displays of dominoes being falling into different patterns and shapes. And I wonder if there's any part of the dreamer's life that feels like, if that one thing gets knocked over or knocked down, that it would set off a chain of events that could lead to something good, if it was a domino, a competition, or may lead to something not so good. um So I wonder if there's something that the dreamer wants to push over, or is there a concern about pushing something over and cascading into something perhaps undesirable. Now, moving on to the second half of this dream, he gets a telephone call from dad, and I had to laugh because it was like, what popped into my head was Father Divine. So, it's like getting a phone call from God. Don't know why that came up, but it did. Um, but it's been a very funny day today. Angels have been messing messing with my computer, doing all kinds of stuff. It's amazing, but I've had a great time though. But the dad calls the son. Yeah, the dad calls the son, and he tells the dreamer that his aunt, who I assume not necessarily is the um, sister of the dad, so his aunt, but nevertheless, whatever, again, roles: the dad, the mom, the father, the mother. So there, people aren't named, but they have roles. They have assigned roles. So this aunt was wanted to tell the son via the dad. She doesn't tell him directly. She tells him via the dad, which is interesting. And I'll come back to that in a second. But the aunt is telling off the son, the dreamer, because the dreamer's wife. I mean, it's like this really intimate circle going on. It's really quite funny. The dreamer's wife had cut down, or cut back some willow trees, I guess in preparation for winter because the weather's changing now. Um, and the dreamer kind of retorts to the dad, "That's just nonsense. Don't be silly. you know, don't be ridiculous. She did what needed to be done." And the dream just ends there. But it's a funny little scene, looking back at it now. But what strikes me about this is that, again, like I said, we have roles. We don't have names. We don't have people as such. We have roles. So you have, again, another another couple. You have the dad, the son, and the dreamer and the wife. Then you have the dad and the aunt, and the aunt is kind of a stand-in for the wife, but another wife. But they're acting again in tandem with each other. You have the husband and wife in the first part of the dream acting in tandem with each other, and then you have this aunt and the dad of the dreamer acting in tandem together. But in each case, it's always the wife that seems to take action. And I wonder if there's something in the dreamer's life where they may be feeling that they're not taking action, that others are taking action, perhaps something around that. Now, this again, this female energy, this anima that's calling into relationship, maybe the contentious one with regard to the willows, but nevertheless, it's the female that's connecting. But on the other hand, you had the male energy in the form of the dreamer turning around and saying, "Please, just forget that. That just has nothing to do with anything." So, but I wonder here on a broader scale if there's something in the dreamer's life or perspective about things that needs, or if he may feel needs protecting or defending. Is there some aspect of the dreamer's life that feels, maybe a bit beleaguered or attacked and wants and needs to be defended? But again, like I said, I have to come back to that this invitation to relationship, whether it be a more harmonious one on the one hand, or one that's a bit more contentious on the other, there's still that relatedness that's going on there. So to when now it's really starting to become clear to me with this dream. I told you, sometimes you have to sit with dreams for a while. Sometimes even days, weeks. Some I've had it's like years, having to uh, be able to pick out the information that needed to come out from the dream. But the connection that I got initially, and now is even more true, that I've had a second look at it, is twos. There's twos all over the place here, and twos, like they say, it takes two to tango. So that it's about relationship in a sense. You have the husband, the dreamer, and his wife working or acting together. So it's a balance of energies there. And then again, even with the dad and the aunt being a bit persnickety about willows, again you have the energy in balance. So whether it's calmer, having a cup of tea, or fussing over willows, there's still a sense of balance. Things have come back into balance. And I wonder if, for the dreamer here, if they have feel that they may have reached a place of balance within themselves, or in some aspect of their life that may have been out of balance. I Now that I've had a chance to kind of let this percolate a bit more, I really do believe that there's something about coming back into balance being expressed here, through these two little dreams. And I can't wait to find out from the dreamer, if I was on the money with this or not. But this dream actually made me laugh, today. So thank you for that, dreamer. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week. And I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.